Hello, guys! I'm Roanne,
And I'm Miguel.
and today we will be working on an RPG game. An RPG game stands for role-playing game. A role-playing game, RPG, is a game in which each participant assumes the role of a character, generally in a fantasy or science fiction setting, that can interact with the game's imaginary world.
In this episode, we'll be making a player that moves, some art for that player, a hitbox, and some NPCs that you can interact with. So without further ado, let's get into the project and let's get started. Let's delete Scratch Cat. And let's make a new sprite. And we're going to call it Player Hitbox. Hitbox is where primarily most of the code is going to be. And the art will be in a whole different sprite. So let's make a little rectangle for how big we want our character to be on the screen.
While holding shift, drag out a square. In the top corner, these two numbers under the costume show the size, the width, and height of the costume. Try to get it to be 50 by 50 or somewhere close to that. Now I have a square that is 51 by 51.
Now make another sprite, and we're going to call this one Player Art. So in here, you can make your character and what he will actually look like in the game.
We are going to be making something pretty simple for now. Later, we will be doing pixel art using bitmap. But right now, we're going to just be making a circle. We're going to be making 4 costumes, each with a circle in it. And it will have 2 eyes, each facing in the direction that it is going. So, for costume 1, we're going to name it left. For costume 2, right. For costume 3, up. And for costume 4, down. For now, let's hide the player art and go back into the player hitbox sprite.
Now, we're going to be making the movement for the player hitbox. There are 2 ways we can make the movement. There's a simple way that takes a bit longer and a bit more of a harder way, but it takes a shorter amount of time. We're going to show you both. So, let's do it. Drag a when green flag clicked and drag a forever loop. Go to motion and drag a change X by and change Y by. You'll need these for later. Now, go to sensing. Grab a when key clicked, drag 4 of them. Now, go to operators, drag 2 minus signs and 2 multiply signs. Now, put a right arrow minus left arrow and multiply that by 4. Put that in the change X by. Now, grab another minus sign and do up arrow minus down arrow times 4 and put that in the Y. This should grant you simple movement. Let's click the green flag and test if it works. And it works. It doesn't take as much code and it looks pretty good. Now we have our movement down.
Now let's go to the player art sprite. When green flag clicks, show. Forever, go to player hitbox. In the player hitbox, go to the when the green flag clicked and set ghost effect to 100.
Okay, so this might be getting old, but we need to do the ghost effect to 100 because if we do hide, then it cannot interact with any of the other sprites. And if the ghost effect is 100, it won't be seen to the naked eye, but Scratch still detects it as an object that is showing.
Now in the player art, in the forever loop, drag out 4 if statements. If key up, down, left, and right, press. Then we're going to switch the costumes to the corresponding key. I'm also going to be adding WASD controls. If you want to do that, just add an OR statement and duplicate the key. In order to do it in here, you just have to replace the key with the OR statement. Now,
Make sure to test out that it still works.
and as you can see, it's still working. But I'm going to adjust the speed a little. So instead of times 4, let's do times 8. Now, it should be going double the speed. Now, back in the player art, let's switch costume to whatever the key is. Let's test it out. As you can see, it's working great. But the down is not working. And as you can see, it is working great.
Now that we have made our character move, it's time for us to make an NPC for you to interact with. An NPC is a non-playable character. And I probably sound like an NPC right now, because NPCs usually do common human things and don't have human-like characteristics.
NPCs are not played by the player, nor any sort of AI.
NPCs are just there. So, let's make a new sprite. And we will call this one NPC. You might notice how we added an apostrophe S. This is because we will be making multiple NPCs in the future, but we will be only making one for this video, for the purposes of length. In the costume editor, you can just make another square that is different color than the player, but the same size.
In order to do that, you could just copy and paste the square from the player and paste it in here.
Now we're gonna make some code so the NPCs can spawn in a certain place. We're gonna do when green flag clicked, and we're going to go to variables. We're going to make 2 new lists. One of them is gonna be called clone Y. The other one is going to be clone X. We're also going to make another variable called clone ID.
Make sure it's for this sprite only.
Now, when green flag clicked, add 40 to clone Y. And we're going to add 0 to clone X.
This is the position for the first NPC. Go ahead and hide the list on screen. You can also hide the clone ID if you'd like.
Now, under that, set the clone ID to 0. Make it hide, and now, make a clone of myself. We're gonna have Rowan explain why we're using lists instead of just regular variables.
Thank you, Miguel. Now, we're using lists because we're planning to have multiple different NPCs on the screen. And since we want to minimize the amount of sprites we have to do it in one sprite. We're going to have all the positions for each sprite in 2 different lists. In order for the clone to know which position it's for itself, we're using the clone ID so that it can find its own clone ID in the list and know that that is assigned to its clone and it needs to go there.
Now, drag out this code. When I start as a clone, change clone ID by 1. Why?
Make sure that it's in the right slot, as we don't want it to go to the Y position for the X and the X position for the Y.
Now, inside of there, drag a clone ID boolean into both of those spots. Now, let's test them. Uh-oh, it's not showing. Another mistake. Make sure to add a show at the beginning. Now, let's click the green flag again and
As you can
it
see,
spawns in.
It spawns in. It goes to the X position 0 and the Y 40.
You can play around with the X and Y positions in the list to make sure it works.
Also, make sure to delete all of clone X and all of clone Y when green flag clicked.
This is very important. After the NPC spawns in every single game, you are able to talk to most of them. But here, you can't even interact with them. So, let's code so we can talk to him.
In the NPC sprite, when green flag clicked, and drag out a forever loop. Then grab an if statement and block. And then drag out a key, E press, or whatever key you would like to use for interaction. And then you're going to drag out a touching player hitbox. Now, in this if statement, write broadcast message talking. Then make a new variable, make sure it's not for the sprite only, and call it current NPC. This variable is to let you know what NPC the player is talking to. Set current NPC to clone ID. Also, replace the when green flag clicked with when I start as a clone. Now, let's make the text pop up. Call it text. For the text, we're going to make a big rectangle like this. You can make it whatever color you want. We're just going to keep it red since it's the color of the NPC. Then, you're going to drag a white square either corner of the rectangle. This square is for the image of the NPC that you are talking to. Then, write some text. This is the question that it's going to be asking. So we're going to say, do you want to be friends? Change the font to whatever you'd like. We're going to be changing it to Pixel. Copy it, paste it, and write Y in parentheses, yes. Then copy this, paste it, and write N in parentheses, no. These are the keys to answer the question. Make sure that they are aligned. Now we're going to make 2 more costumes. Call this one question 1. Duplicate it twice. Call this one yes. Call this one yes 1, and call this one no 1. Now, write the response for each key. So if you were to say no, they're going to be saying, "Oh man, I'm on." But if you say yes, they're going to say, "Okay, great."
You can tell this is an NPC because this is not how a regular human would respond in these conversations.
Also, remember to delete these keys at the bottom. Your 3 costumes should look like this. Make sure that they are called yes 1, no 1, and question 1. This is very important. Then, back in the text, drag out a when I receive talking, and under it, we're going to make it show switch costume to current NPC. Then, in a forever loop, put 2 if statements. And in the first one, if key Y pressed, that means that they're answering with yes. So we're going to switch costume to join yes. Make sure that it is spelled exactly how it's spelled in the costume, so it's uppercase Y-E-S. Then, current NPC. This shows exactly what the current NPC is, so we know which costume to be. Also, make sure to do that right here too. So, join question current NPC. Then, under this switch costume to, we're going to wait 1 second and then hide. Duplicate this and put it in the bottom if statement. Drag out the key pressed N for no. Switch costume to no current join no current NPC. Wait 1 second and then hide. Also, let's position this on the screen. -50, -100.
This is so it's not blocking your whole screen.
Let's test it out. So, as you can see, when we click E while touching the NPC, this pops up. If we click Y, it says, okay, great, then disappears. And then if we click E again and click no, it says, aw man, and then disappears. And we can keep doing this over and over again.
I also wouldn't want to be friends with an NPC who doesn't even have a face. So we can make art for him, but that's for a later video. And I don't want to be friends with just one person. I want to have a whole friend group, which will also be done in the next episode.
Okay, now outro.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
And you guys definitely use some scratch abilities.